Okay, let's do a quick mic check. Hello, everyone. All right, I think that sounds reasonable. Put it that way. All right, 1 minute. Alrighty, let's see. All right. Hello. All right. No, that wasn't what I wanted. All right. My face cam is messed up. All right, there we go. Face cam is working now, sort of. All right. Hey, everyone. All right, we'll start painting in just a minute. But first, I think I need to go get a cat because he sounds like he is losing his mind and needs attention. So I am going to walk off for a minute and see if I can find this little. Oh, is it you, Winnie? Come on, Winnie. Okay, never mind. It was just one of my cats being lazy, like extremely lazy. Ah, alrighty. All right, our chats are all up. Everything's all up. Cool. Nope. Alrighty. Just making sure everything is running properly. Think so. Okay, cool. I actually have my palette up and ready and my brushes out today, so it's going to be a quick start today. I was working on a different painting. Let me see if I can show it here. Wait, yeah, right. Yeah, that one. The commission that I messed up and had to redo some of it. So I was just finishing that up. There's probably like, well, there's definitely one area that I need to paint that because of my setup, I couldn't really reach that area, so I'm gonna have to do that separately, but it's minor. And then there's probably something else I need to add to it that I can't think of, but I'll see it next time I look at it. So sometimes you just need to let the painting sit for a minute, come back to it. Alrighty. I'm just going to try and clean off my glove for a second. That's kind of weird to clean a glove, but I could just, throw it away and get a new one. But it's just like a single mark, a single piece of paint on like the side. Why bother? All right. I'm this way with gloves. Just imagine what I'm like with my actual hands. All right. Let's see. How should I start this one today? I'm gonna, well, maybe I shouldn't assume, but assuming it's all still wet. Let's see. Wait. Yeah, it's all still wet. At least somewhat wet. Definitely not dry enough to um what's it called? Not dry enough to oil out. Alrighty. Let and I wish you could I'm sorry that you can't see my palette today. This one is just such a long canvas. There's no way for me to show my palette and the painting unless I back off a lot from it, and then they'll be so far that I feel like it wouldn't be worth it. Uh, Now I have my I'm hoping I can finish this soon so I can do my annual self-portrait quickly as well. I have plans for that one. We'll see if I have the time to properly do the photo shoot that I need for it. Uh, because I need to make some reference for it. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully I have the time. Obviously, the problem is not like, obviously I'm available to take photos of myself whenever, but it's I have to set up more than just taking a photo of myself. Doing the whole setup can be um, time consuming. If you've ever done a photo shoot, you know that even if it's of yourself, um, especially if it's not like what's it called, you know, like if I could do it in my room, just like take a photo of myself like this, like use this camera or something, that'd be one thing, but I can't. I need to like set up everything. I need special lighting, it's a whole thing. And then after after I do that, my self-portrait, I do have some commissions that I owe some people that I'll have to be working on. But I don't know if separately is the right word, but um, I also have um, some painting ideas, some concept ideas that I want to explore that I'm really excited about that are unlike anything I've ever done and also unlike anything I personally have seen. Um, but we'll see if it works out and turns out well, or just ends up being an interesting experiment. 'Cause it could just be that, at the end of the day, you never know. And then, but I don't want to give away too much about that, so I'm gonna, you know, keep that close to the vest, so to speak. And then I also um, might be switching up my palette a little bit, which I'm sure some people do not care about at all, but for me, that's interesting. We'll see how it goes and what that ends up producing. I bought some new paints to try out, some new um, different colors, different colors mostly, and I thought it might be fun to switch up the palette a little. And it's one of those things where it's like I it's not that I necessarily think that the new palette is better. Of course, I haven't tried it yet, so we don't know. But I don't think it will be actually better than my current palette. I think it might be, how can I put this? I think it'll be less capable than my current palette, but um, maybe easier to use for other people and um, possibly cheaper and like more economical and just yeah, might just be like a little easier overall to use in like 90% of scenarios. And of course, you know, when you need it, you can always expand your palette. But yeah, it just I think I might have found a substitute or alternative to one of my colors that could work in most scenarios and be kind of an easier color to work with. And no, it's not a phthalo blue alternative, even though that is the most problematic color in my palette in the sense of like difficulty to use. And then um, I also bought some other paint that I thought would be just fun to play around with in an experiment. So it might be like I like using very limited palettes for the fun of it sometimes. Like I did a painting, with the green and um, rose and white, and that were the only colors in the painting. And that was a very fun painting. I really like how it came out. Um, so stuff like that for the fun of it is fantastic. But so I think that is separate than like changes to my current palette. But yeah, I think I'll be doing some of those as well, or just expanding on my like doing specialty paintings where I use particular colors because I bought a small tube of cadmium orange just because I wanted to see how it compared to my like what oranges I can mix. It's a beautiful color. Once again, completely unnecessary if you're not using it straight out of the tube. But, might be a nice, it is a beautiful color to use straight out of the tube. So, you can do that. Do a whole painting that way. So yeah. Or a painting where, you know, it's not the whole painting that way, but the painting needs a lot of like orange, very strong orange spots or something. Either one would work really well. But no, that is not a like an what's it called? It will not be a mainstay, I don't think, to my day, like quote unquote daily palette. I am slightly losing my mind about one thing, which is I I have I bought what's it called? Um I bought a magenta because I wanted to compare it to the other magenta that I had, but I can't find the other magenta that I had, and I am slightly losing my mind because I'm wondering, where it is, and I'm also wondering if I used it all and I forgot about, you know, using all of it, in which case I don't have that magenta to compare it to. And that would suck because then I can't really compare the two. And then I'd have to buy a second magenta to compare it, to compare it to. That seems silly, especially since that other magenta I don't think was very good, or at least that's the theory that it wasn't very good. So I'm not going to buy a paint that I think is possibly not very good just to see how it compares to the better tube I just bought. Yeah. Alrighty. And then I also bought I I also bought some white paint and um well, I bought some white paint, but I bought different brands of white paint. And I don't know, I'll compare them, you know, I want to compare them, but I'm not sure that just swatching them will really make that much of a difference. I think it might be one of those things that you just have to use it and see. Because when I swatched them, I don't know that I saw a huge difference between them. Of course, there is the whole issue of like how how they yellow over time, but I do not have the patience to do that type of self-study kind of thing. Hey Des, you're here doing multiple things at once. Well, welcome. I hope that the multiple things at once you're doing goes well. I'm just talking and filling the void. Well, trying to at least. You know. Um, yeah, just talking about the different paints and everything. I will say I have a little bit of the cadmium orange on my palette right now. It is a very, very pretty color. I don't know what to do with it exactly, but it is very pretty. So is the magenta that I have on my palette. Although I will say, I do think the magenta is very close to my rose color. The At least the mass tone. Once you mix it, it starts to change quite a bit. And of course, this is the rose that I'm using. This one is Winsor Newton. It's very frustrating because every single manufacturer makes their, like, rose color a bit different, unfortunately. So it is, not consistent in the slightest. It is one of the more well, I don't know if it's one of the more wide-ranging colors, but it's definitely mm, as wide-ranging as, like, some of the other ones, like if you've ever bought cadmiums and switch brands, you know the pain that, like, one cadmium, you know, one cadmium red is like another's, you know, vermilion kind of thing. Like they go from different types of different temperatures and different, one deep is like another's, regular and so on. So yeah, if you know the pain. I will say, actually, this is something, um, Des, that I do feel a little. I'll give you a bit of a, I guess, prequel to my potential, um, palette change, and um, I know you recently asked me about yellow, and I pointed you in the direction of bismuth or cad yellow, or cad lemon, um, and yes, those are like I do think those are the truest, probably, uh, primary yellows, and they're also, what's it called? Um, opaque. They are definitely opaque, which was an issue you were dealing with. Having said that, I might be changing out my, what's it called? My primary yellow in my palette, but I don't know. I have to test it before I can, say for sure. Um, but it's a little ironic because it's actually a less capable yellow that isn't as good as those two, which I know sounds silly to do, and it is a little bit. Hold on. Um, Sorry, I need to stretch for a minute. I've been painting before I started streaming. I was working on a different painting, so I've been standing here for quite a while. All right. Okay, let's see. Yeah, the yellow I'm looking at is uh, the I have it here, but I can't remember the name of it. No, it's not this. There it is. Um, Nickel yellow. It's this one I got was from is from M I like M. I like their consistency. They're very soft paint. Um, but the pigment code is PY150. Some other companies name it something else. It just depends on the company. It is very light fast, um, supposedly. And let's see. It might be. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Does it tell me? Does not tell me if it's It contains nickel complex compound, which I guess may cause skin irritation. Don't spray apply. Keep out of reach of children. Sure. Doesn't say if it is. Usually it says if it's what's it called? Um, Opaque or not, but this one doesn't. So I don't know. I haven't really used it. I tried it out, but I haven't used it. Just tested it a bit. It's Series 3, so it is cheaper than the other yellow. And what is good about this yellow is it comes out of the tube kind of brownish, and then when you add color to it, or when you add white to it, it goes more yellowish. So to give you an idea, um, this is nickel yellow. It's looking a little red here. It looks kind of brown to me. Doesn't look on screen to me. It looks a little red, but this looks very brown to me. And then this looks kind of mustardy. And then this is the um, bismuth yellow. I was trying to compare the two. So it's not nearly as bright as my bismuth yellow. It can't hit the highs that my bismuth yellow can. But most of the time, I don't need that. Most of the time, I have to bring my yellow down anyways. So maybe it's better to have a yellow that starts off there, and then, if I need that like lemon, yellow, banana yellow, bus yellow, or whatever it is, then I can grab my bismuth yellow and, do that. That's the thought, at least. I would apply the same thought to red, to my like red and blue, but there isn't a blue or a red that does anything like that I'm aware of. But like I said, I haven't used it in a painting yet, so we shall see. The other thing that I was testing here is um, these whites to see which one is brighter. Um, you know, Good luck with that. I honestly could not tell you which one is brighter. And then this is the cad orange. And this is a mixture, I think, trying to get close to the cad orange. Actually, this just gave me an idea. I need to try something. Huh. Yep. Oh well. I was just testing out my rose in the new um what's it called? Magenta. I'm gonna have to do a much more comprehensive head to head with those two to see the difference between them, and also add my my quinacridone rose. What is it? My quinacridone rose from Windsor, not Windsor Newton. That's the one I'm using most of the time. Um, my quinacridone rose from M-Gram because it's a bit different than the one from Windsor Newton. The reason I'm using the Windsor Newton one is it's cheaper, but uh, it is not my favorite. Not horrible, but it's definitely not my favorite. I do have to I do want to compare it to the magenta and just see, you know, see what's what. I know I get into the weeds on these like pigments and all this stuff. I figure, you know, um, it's like anything. If you're, you know, interested in it, you can get too much into like the details and the weeds of things. But that's just part of being like really into something. I've, you know, I went to, I've told this story before, but I once went to lunch with two, two graphic designers, and I kid you not, they spent the entire lunch break uh, talking about the different fonts that they like and the nuances between certain fonts and what those particular fonts were good at or good for, you know, which ones they use for what, and so on. And I was bored out of my mind. Don't get me wrong, I do like graphic design work here and there a little bit, but I am not a graphic designer and I am not that interested in fonts, which is probably why I'm not a professional graphic designer. But yeah, half an hour plus of just fonts. No, thank you. Mm, I get it. I do. I know that what's it called talking pigments and the light fastness of the different you know different pigments and like all that detail isn't that interesting to everybody, but it's important. There are ways around it. Like if you happen to use not light fast pigments for some reason by accident or whatever, you can use what's it called UV protective spray or varnish, and that will mitigate the fading supposedly. With oil paint, the problem with that is that you have to wait like 6 months until you can put it on because I don't think there's a single like retouch varnish that has UV protective qualities. That there's no varnish that you can put on um, when the paint's touch dry. You have to wait till it's cured, like actually cured. Uh, so that sucks. at least as far as I know. And if I'm wrong, I would love to know what, what the use is, because I will absolutely use UV protective stuff even on the paintings that technically should be light fast. Absolutely. Um, you know, I don't what's it called? I don't know anyone that you can do that with, unfortunately. Let's fix this little Mogwai's face a little. Let's see here. All right. Middle button nose. Oh, that's what's going on there. All right. I mean, obviously it's not done, but it's starting to come together, I think. Now to you know, detail and render and all that. No, that's too light. All right. This is something for all the aspiring artists out there. That's a mistake that's real easy to make, that I've made a million times. Um, Real easy to kind of um, zoom in, like, and over focus on something, and not, um, you know, not pay attention to the relative, relative colors. Sorry, my phone's going crazy. Um, but yeah, it's real easy to like over focus on a small area, which I was doing. I had my reference zoomed in, and you just kind of ignore the relative colors, and then you don't realize that you're painting something too light or too dark or whatever. I've done that like a million times. I still do it. But today I caught myself, which is nice. This is a really interesting um, painting exercise because it is very dark. Most of the colors here are very dark because this was, you know, actually lit, not done with the CGI. And so a lot of the things are very, very dark. I mean, that's not the only reason. They also probably wanted to give it a dark feel because of the subject, and also it makes it harder to see that it's, just a toy or a doll or whatever. There's that too. But yeah, everything lives in a much lower, um, let's say key than I normally tend to paint. So last stream, someone came in who came off a bit like a bot or something. There was some issues with that person. Um, I have a little bit of a follow-up about that. They did reach out to me and follow up with me and asked me some questions, basic stuff. I'm not giving out, you know, private info or anything. But they did ask what my goal is with my stream. And when I said to promote my artwork, they said, cool, what artwork? And I'm just like, well, what do you mean? So it's currently where we're at the moment. Well, actually, that's not true. They said they responded and said, well, you said you wanted to promote your artwork. What artwork? So that's where we're actually at, which just seems silly. It's where it was a bot or a team of people trying to work together in scamming. It has to be a scam or an AI bot or something. Like it just seems too ridiculous. I do wonder their Discord profile is longer, is not like super recent from like 2 years ago, I think, or last year, which makes me think that maybe they stole someone's Discord profile or something. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how any of this stuff works. Yeah, exactly. They were in my stream when I was doing art. What art? Yep. Yeah, that's why when they said what art, I was like, what do you mean? I'm just debating what to do now. Do I just block and boot or what? Report? What are we doing here? Just straight up say you're not paying for any services. Yeah, that's for sure. I'm definitely not paying for any services. The sad part is that I've actually tried to I started looking into possibly like getting an actual like agent or something. Like I would totally pay. No, I wouldn't pay. I would totally split revenue with an actual agent, if they functioned and got me, you know, promoted me and everything in a real way. But, these are just scammers. I know. Yeah, it does. It's probably a good idea. All right. Let's see. So I think I told everyone last time. Maybe it wasn't last time, but I recently bought a new what's it called? A new hard drive. I opened it up and it's dented. Now it's kind of just on the corner, so I don't know if it's actually damaged or not, but I'm not taking the chance, or rather I'm contacting the seller to find out, what's going on, if I have to take a chance with it or not. But yeah, like I think it's just the housing. I don't know, but if it was jolted bad enough to dent the side of it, you know, can I really trust that it's, okay inside? I don't know. Only reason I'm mentioning that is because um I'm transferring space right I'm transferring files right now because I'm literally out of space in my camera right now. But yeah, I don't know. I try not to be overly picky, but with like, oh, it's a little scuffed or something like the hard drive I ordered, but it was pricey and I am concerned that it might be, busted internally, or maybe it's not busted right now, but like maybe in the future it will be. I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. but like it's literally dented. Like, you can see how it's like dented here. So something hit it hard enough to like, uh, you know, damage that. I'm just like, I don't know. And there's some more dents, minor dents on it elsewhere. It sucks because I just opened it today and I was like, oh, I'm getting ready to put it in, and it's just like, ah. I took photos of it. Um, that's how it came. It didn't come in it came in a I mean, in a brown box, but that's it. It didn't come with anything else. That was it. That's how it came. Hmm. I think it had some bubble wrap around it, but like the box was like this big for something that size. I took a photo and I messaged them. We'll see what happens. But it's a bit weird that you know that's how it came. But I don't know. Always a not struggle, but a like trying to figure out where how much finish to put on everything and how much to, you know, leave loose and so on is always always, well, not, I don't want to say it's always tough, but it's definitely something that, like, I think is often an issue that I'm, trying to balance. I'll put it that way. Especially something like this, where, the background really isn't the focus. We'll see how much I get into all the detail, because there's definitely like a lot of detail, especially, in this area to do. But this is more of a, like, you know, just a fun painting for like the holidays, not like the most important painting that I need to spend all my time getting all the detail right. So we'll see. Almost started using my smaller brush again, but no. Let's try and stay with the larger brush out of stubbornness and unity. That's it. Stubbornness and unity. Using a larger brush generally produces a more uniformed um, structure than using smaller brushes. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely disadvantages to a bigger brush, and to each their own preferences. But overall, the tendency amongst artists is to use brushes that are too small when they can use definitely get away with a larger brush. Uh, or a key. Why do you wear a glove? I wear gloves for a few reasons. Technically speaking, some of the paint is toxic. The danger of it is very minimal, uh, but you know it exists. More importantly, I have cats, and if I want to have clean hands at a moment's notice, I have gloves. As soon as I take them off, my hands inside at least, maybe not my shirt, I have to be careful of that, but my hands are definitely clean. So if I need to, I have clean hands whenever. That's the probably the biggest reason. And cats are more susceptible to some of the toxic elements in paint, especially because they tend to eat it as they clean themselves versus just getting it on your hands and washing it off. I get you, thanks. Yeah, no problem. Uh, like I said, some of the paints are toxic, but my understanding is most of the modern paints, it's not that bad, generally speaking, especially if you don't have any open wounds and it's just your skin. But um, better safe than sorry too. I'm not a messy painter. I don't get a lot of paint on my hands, so that's less of a concern for me, really. Do you paint? Are you an artist? What do you what kind of art do you do if you are an artist? I work in animation, but I haven't painted much. A little with oil pastels and acrylic. Sure. I uh I do storyboards for TV animation. So what kind of animation do you do? I followed you a while back, but I don't actually go into live streams much. No worries. I You saw my site. Yeah. Um I've been meaning to put out more YouTube videos, but I have not had the time lately. But hopefully I get a video out before the end of the year, and then hopefully I can get back on track early next year. Put it that way. But yeah, something to be aware of with pastels is anything that produces dust. Um, let's see, I work in 2D traditional mainly. Digital, you mean? Yeah, TV, feature, whatever. Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I was I was actually looking at some different software right now, trying to decide if I feel like or if there's any benefit to me learning Moho or whatever. Yeah, I was kind of like, do I want to spend time learning how to rig these models and these and everything? Because in storyboards, it's you don't do any of that stuff really, generally speaking. Anyways, what was I gonna oh, yeah, I was gonna say be careful with, the owner of Moho. Nice. There's nothing wrong with the program, it's more just, like, it's not what I normally do, so I was kinda like, I don't know, is this worth it or not?" That's awesome that you know them. They do a fair bit of free trials, and sometimes it's on Humble Bundle. Nice. I mostly work in Toon Boom, uh, but I'm pretty flexible when it comes to software, so I pick up software pretty easily. I keep trying to say with pastels, um, if they're the soft kind, you have less to worry about. But if they're the kind that produces dust, be careful with that because uh, you don't want to inhale that stuff. A lot of the dust can be kind of toxic. Hey, Poison Jackal is raiding with a party of 11. Welcome, everyone. How is everyone doing? Welcome, raiders. Just FYI, I don't have notifications on, so anyone, follows or anything, I will not see it. I'm not ignoring you. I just have too many things happening and don't have it set up. Poison Jackal, how you doing? How was your stream? What are you working on? And then uh Karaki says I use the soft ones, thankfully, the pastels. That's good. Something you might look into is there are drawing oil sticks. They work a lot like pastels, but they will supposedly dry eventually, which is really cool. Whereas oil pastels never dry, so you can't, they don't cure. They're a problem, Shout out was given to Poison Jackal. Absolutely. Thanks for the raid. Poison Jackal's raided me before. I always appreciate it. And if I remember correctly, you do a variety of things. Watercolor artwork is what I remember, unless I'm mistaken. Uh, Karaoke says, "Yikes!" Yeah, yeah, that's the problem with pastels. But the drawing sticks, I think they're from R&F. I just looked at them recently. There's oil sticks, but those are much softer and expensive. The drawing sticks are kind of like an more like a crayon or like pastels, I think, but they also dry eventually, like regular oil paint. Poison Jackal says, stream was nice. I did some doodly sketches. Someone asked me to draw myself as a fish, so I drew a puffer fish with roller skates. Oh, oh, that's funny. Feel free to link in the chat if you want to link that or your Instagram. Whatever you feel like. I know sometimes when you just get off of a stream, you can't immediately do that stuff, so no worries. But yeah. And then I drew a couple of spiders and a character with spider legs. Nice. Sounds like fun. That sounds like a fun stream. That's awesome. I am I am continuing my tradition of doing a um, non-traditional uh, Christmas themed painting for Christmas. Last year it was Die Hard, and this year it's Gremlins. Eventually I'm going to run out of, counterculture type of movies and stuff. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do then, but we'll see. Let's see. Karaoke says, yeah, it's been dropped or something. What do you mean? The, yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. What's been dropped? Maybe sorry, I'm trying to keep everything, on track, but sometimes I have two chats running at the same time. In case anyone didn't know, I have a chat on Discord. Sorry, not Discord, on Twitch, and a chat on my YouTube stream. So that's why the two chats. All right, let's see. Let's see. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's a fun drawing. Let me see if I can copy that link, or if is it too long of a link for my um, copy link address. Let's see. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. It's in my YouTube chat now, so YouTube can also see it. Oh, the spider thing's cool. That's nice. You're trying to work out, I see the one with the boxes. You're trying to work out the like anatomy of it and the perspective of it all. That's cool. There we go. Now everyone can, if they want to, in YouTube chat can also see it. Very cool. Yeah, I like that. That was fun. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it. Yeah, the drawing characters and trying to get all the perspective right can really be challenging. That what was it? The free run drawing that went viral because of the like, looking up, the angle was like looking up at the face. Yeah, that stuff can be tough. Absolutely. That is literally one of the hardest angles to, you know, draw people at. All right, let me check that. Getting my, there we go. I ran out of room on my SD card for my camera. So I was transferring the files and they just finished transferring. But yeah, that angle is always hard. You know, the one thing I can say that I think is like, obviously using reference, oops, using reference and everything is the best way to go with that stuff. But the one advice, the one piece of advice I think I can give people um, when they try to draw people from like those hard angles, um, like be willing to sacrifice the um, the eyes and the like prettiness of the characters, because I think that's something that holds people back a lot, because they try to draw people from like extreme angles that are really hard, and in those angles like you do lose the eyes, you do lose the shape of the normal shape of the mouth, you do lose like the common shapes, but most people can figure that out, but I feel like they fight themselves, or at least that's something that I do or used to do, probably still do sometimes, but you have to be willing to just sacrifice all those features for the overall angle and know that it will look correct. But it's very hard, very hard. And yeah, you will lose some of the expressiveness sometimes. Like it is almost impossible to draw someone like smiling really, when from an up angle, and it not look weird, because your mouth wraps around your skull this way, and when you're at an up angle it makes a frown. So then when you smile it's just wrong, like the angle's all wrong and you lose so much of it. So you got to pick your angles better if you want a certain expression sometimes. Poison Jackal says, yes, I personally love foreshortening and struggle more with the front on stuff. Not so bad with drawing abstract things, but once it becomes familiar, I really have to fight my brain. Yeah, 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 for sure. It's very hard, and when you go cartoony, and or when you start getting into like less realistic stuff, it often it can get really difficult too, because some designs, some characters weren't made to be seen at those angles, and it can get really complicated. It's fun for things like anime, because the frame might be the only one in the whole book or show, so you get to put the pretty drawing into other frames. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you mean like they reuse things a lot and so on? Yeah, for sure. Oh, I was also gonna tell Koraki, I don't know if he's still here, but if he is still here, I was gonna warn him, and everyone, someone asked like why I'm wearing gloves when I'm painting with oils, and a lot of people think oils are toxic. The pigments are toxic. The oil, which is the binder, really isn't toxic. And all the toxic pigments are shared amongst oil and acrylics, just and usually uh, you know pastels and what's it called, watercolors and everything else. But what I was going to warn uh, people of that is that acrylics can sometimes off gas depending on the acrylics, because acrylics are essentially like a plastic and a glue, um, and they can off gas. And the only time I've ever gotten sick from fumes was actually from an acrylic medium that I used as a what's it called? I used to seal a surface. So you got to be cautious because you think it's all, you know, it even had the AP thing on it, meaning that it's safe, but I got really sick from it. So, be careful with that some of that stuff. Poison Jackal says, "Well, yeah, yeah, because a lot of a lot of oil stuff that uses solvents, they give off fumes. Like turpentine has a lot of fumes. I don't use turpentine, but that's what people associate with oil paint, and that is true. You have to be aware of that stuff. I'm very aware of it, so I'm very cautious, so I don't ever have any problems. But with acrylics, it's not as clear sometimes, and it can make you sick." Karaoke says, "Huh, yeah, I wouldn't have thought about that, to be honest." That's the thing. It's people are more aware of it in oils, so they're actually more cautious. But in acrylics, it's not as clear or well known. So yeah, it can be a problem. Now, that's not to say that it's always a problem. I have, for instance, I have two acrylic mediums right here that I use sometimes. I use these sometimes to seal something, so that I can what's it called? Um, before I paint on it, and um, I haven't had issues with those off gassing, at least not enough to make me sick. I don't have a great sense of smell, so I haven't noticed anything. Um, So it just kind of depends. You just got to be careful. Des says, "Don't eat your paint." Absolutely. That is the channel's motto. Don't eat your paint. Hey, Karaoke, welcome. You can switch to Twitch, so I only have to look at one chat. Oh, thank you. Need to put out a little more paint real quick. Usually you can all see my palette, but this painting is so wide that I couldn't figure out how to get both the palette and my painting in without being very far away from it. So no palette today. Yeah, and for anyone who does want to paint in oils, I started using Miracle Medium by Michael Harding, and this doesn't have any toxic fumes, so um, it's a solvent-free solvent. There are some limitations to it compared to like normal solvents, but it's a lot more like it's a lot closer to regular solvent than anything else I've used. All right. And the other thing is that's kind of a big deal with that is you can fly with it. A lot of people have an issue when flying with taking their paints is that you can't well, you can take paints on a plane, like you can pack it in your luggage. They usually don't accept solvents. Even Gamsol is a problem. So that's for sure a useful thing for anyone who travels with their paint. The only real limitation that okay, one of the limitations that I'm aware of is that you can't use it to like um, do a wash, uh, supposedly. And then the other thing was what was the other thing? Oh, I don't know how it works with like Damar varnish and other things like that. So, but otherwise, works really well. And for acrylics, I can say if you want a middle ground between oils and acrylics, I got to use a friend of mine has golden open acrylics, and she let me try those, and they really do feel a lot like oils. So if you're looking for like acrylics that stay open for longer, I would recommend those. However, I always say if you're going to do that, you might as well just paint in oils, but not everyone wants to. So if you don't, you don't. Is it the wait, drying time? So the open acrylics, they dry slowly. They don't dry as slow as oils, but they dry way slower than regular acrylics. So that like the paint will stay wet for hours, um, versus minutes, right? But so in that sense, they do feel a lot like oils. The one thing that I noticed that's really different is when they dry, they don't have the body that like heavy body acrylics do or that oils do, where so you can't really do impasto as much, I don't think. There might be a medium that you can buy to do impasto, but out of the tube, they're not as good for impasto, and they tend to be, from what I've seen, and I'm not an expert at it, but it seems to be they seem to be a little on the like more transparent side versus like heavy body acrylics or um, oil paints, you know. But they do dry. They do so they still dry faster than oils, though. So it's kind of a like halfway point, I guess. Um, yeah. Personally, I feel like you might as well just use oils. However, not everybody wants to for numerous reasons, and so they are a good kind of middle ground, I guess. I know some people like them for, like, travel because, I think they think it's, like, easier to take them on planes and stuff like that, because, it doesn't say oil paint, it just says, acrylics or whatever. And they do dry a little faster than oils, so if you're traveling, it's more convenient, and you don't need medium other than water. So, yeah, I could see I can get it. Do not try I do not recommend I think it's called chroma acrylics. They're like these acrylics that are supposed to be able to, you're supposed to, like, be able to like, re-wet them and reuse them, um, to a certain degree, and then at a certain if you want it to be, permanent, you have to, like, I wanna say lock them, but you have to use, like, a special medium to make them permanently dry type of thing. I tried that. I tried those. I do not recommend them. Maybe someone else loves them. I don't recommend them. I did not have a good experience with them. Actually, I was debating between those ones and Golden Open, and I'm kinda glad I didn't try Golden Open because had I tried Golden Open, I probably never would have actually used oil paints because of how good the Golden Open actually is. I have to go lurk now. Thanks for the stream. Oh, Poison Jackal. No, thank you. Thanks for the raid. I appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Let's focus a little on the uh, Santa hat a bit. Try and get some of that, texture in there without grabbing my fan airbrush uh, brush. Try and keep it chunky. I try to what's it called? Um, I give this example a lot, but there's a artist who I like who what's it called? He did uh, he's a great he's a wash painter mostly, but I've seen him do like digital digital studies where he was using uh, a brush that had was just like a square brush that had no, nothing else, no other, what's it called, features to it. It's just a square brush. You pick a color, you can put it down. No blending, no pressure, no nothing. And I've seen him do a whole painting that way, and I've seen other artists do this too. Um, and I really appreciate, you know, how, um, not just how difficult that is, but also, um, like, I like that in theory. It's not that I want to paint like that all the time, but I like that because it's so easy to get caught up in like texture brushes when you're working digitally to try and mimic, reality. And then when you're working with traditional mediums, the same thing, right? Like there are people who have special brushes that tend to, that are frayed, so they use those for hair. Or like I recently used a fan brush that can give me kind of a hair um, quality to, you know, um, to my paint. So I've used that to like make the bristle, use the bristles to make like hair effect. And I mean, it is useful. Those things are definitely useful. But I always think about it that like that's yes, they are useful, but you can also do it with a flat square brush. You know what I mean? Um, and I don't mean like get in there with the very detailed brush and actually paint all the details. I mean just imply it. I always try and remember that so that I can try and bring that to my paintings as much as possible. Not always possible, not always the right thing to do, but something I keep in mind. Because I definitely think that's how you make like more painterly looking paintings. And of course, anyone who's ever done like true graphic design stuff and worked in Illustrator and done like vector art, know all of this as well. Like you can do a lot with flat cutouts and everything. It's surprising sometimes the overlap between like, you know, vector art and oil painting. There's a surprisingly a lot in common in my opinion. Although generally speaking, I think oil painting looks better than vector art, but I'm a little biased. Also, I hate Illustrator as a program. I hate that program so much. That's a completely aside issue, but I absolutely loathe that program. I know some people like it. I don't understand how anyone can like that program, but whatever. The way I always describe it is it's like that program is fighting you the whole time you're using it. I downloaded it, but I haven't installed it yet. The new Affinity suite. I've downloaded it, but I have yet to actually install it and use it. It's one of those things. I'm happy it exists at the moment, but I also recognize that it's essentially a very long-term trap, you know. Like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, well, yes, it's a long-term trap, but it might never go off. So is it worth being overly concerned about it now? I don't know. In case anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, Affinity is a program like Photoshop, and it was bought by Canva, and now they're offering it for free. Um, and so it's great to have a Photoshop alternative that's free. I haven't used it yet, but it's definitely not. They do Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, and Publisher. So it's Photoshop, Illustrator, and Acrobat. If I remember correctly. No, Audition. Yes, that's what it's replaced, like competing against. But um, in order to make it free, they have a thing in Canva that you can use AI. You pay, but you have to pay for that. Whatever. Is it as good as Photoshop? Definitely not. But can it do like 90% of what Photoshop can? I don't know. I think it can do what a lot of people need it Photoshop to do. The trap is that y- you're not buying it and getting to use it for free. You're leasing it for free or using it for free. It can change the terms of conditions at any point. So it's a little bit of a trap in that regards. However, Photoshop is definitely overpriced, and their, you know, payment system, I think, is the subscription stuff is just, I'm not a fan. So, there's always Krita. Krita's great, but yeah, Krita can't do everything that like Affinity can, though, that's for sure. I don't know. The skin around his eye, I think, is too bright, but we'll see. Just because it's brighter than the original doesn't mean that it's too bright, because this not trying to make a copy after all, trying to make a good painting. So if it needs to be brighter to make it easier to see, That's fine. It is, I don't know about you all, but I know when I'm working from reference, that is sometimes one of the hardest things for me is to like break the reference in favor of a better painting. It's sometimes, how can I put this? Sometimes it's easier than other. It just like, but something like this, I definitely have a harder time with it because I want it to be like more accurate. And so I always struggle with these types of paintings more than just like random, people. Paintings of random people are so much easier because I don't care if it looks like them or not. I just want it to look good. I don't know if that makes sense, but to anyone else, but yeah, I don't know how my brain works sometimes. It's like what's it called? The thing where it's like if you buy an expensive sketchbook or an expensive brush or something like that, you end up not using it. You don't want to ruin it. I don't know if anyone else deals with that, but that's definitely something that I've had an issue with in the past. It's such a weird thought to have, but like you buy something expensive to use it, and then you're like, oh, but I don't want to ruin it by using it for what I bought it for. His beard kind of reminds me of like the Abe Lincoln beard for some reason. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. Just checking that it's nothing important. Uh, yeah. You can't hear it? Good. Thanks, Des. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it. I'm sure sometimes it'll come through, but generally, that's good to know that it's not most of the time. Yeah, at the moment, his eyes kinda look like the skin around his eyes kinda looks like it's glowing, so I do need to either tone that back or raise everything else. We'll see. Probably gonna tone it back. Let's see here. I think if I darken everything around it, it will help me see it as being way too bright, and then I can darken it appropriately. Yeah, I think that's better. I might, put some highlights back in towards the end, but I think this keeps it from looking like it's glowing. It is surprising how darkly lit this whole movie is. Um, you know, it uh, really is very, very dark. The whole thing, the lighting. I mean, maybe not the whole thing, but a lot of it. I do miss that though. Like a lot of movies nowadays, when I hate that blue filter that they use to try and you know, make you think it's like nighttime or something. I hate that. I hate that so much. Yeah, that needs work. They kept it dark to hide the bad special effects at the time. Yes, I know. But uh, I agree with you, but I still think it's it works in the to the movie's benefit, you know what I mean? Like it fits the overall feel um really well. But yes, I know that's why they did that a lot of times. But, you know, now they do the no, not they kind of stopped doing it luckily, but for a while they were doing the blue filter effect because it was cheaper than shooting at night. The other thing is it's really hard to shoot um, in the dark or lower light rather. Not like in the dark dark, although it is as well. But yeah, in lower light, it can be very difficult to shoot. Um, so yeah, and expensive too. So that's why that blue filter nonsense started happening. But I hate that so much. All right. Well, let's see. Yeah, it's about perfect timing. Uh, I am going to call it a day for the stream. Um, yeah, yeah, I think so. Let's see. I'm trying to view the progress made today. Uh, yeah, yeah, quite a bit of progress made today. I want to keep working on, but like I said, I was painting. I was working on the commission. I guess I can show it a little bit. Uh, this is the commission I was working on. I kind of messed it up and had to repaint a lot of it. So, well, not a lot of it, but I had to repaint some of the face, like the eyes and stuff. So I was working on this today. Uh, So spent a lot of time on this today, and yeah, I think I'm going to call it a night. Uh, Thanks everyone for stopping by. Poison Jackal, thank you for the raid. Um, Cherokee, thanks for stopping by. It's good talking to you. Des, as always, thank you for all your help. And now I actually have paint on my hands. All right. Um, yeah. Thank you everyone for joining today. I appreciate it. I will be working on this probably. If I can, I will stream Sunday unless something comes up, but I will stream Sunday and hopefully finish this painting or at least make a lot of progress. We shall see. Um, Thanks for hanging out. I don't do raids because I don't know how to do it with the multi-stream. See you next stream. Thanks, Des. See you next stream. Have a good one, everybody.